G, you now rocking with the elite.
Yo, welcome back. Another episode, Neighborhood CEOs. I'm your host, John. I got my guys in here, Raymar, Lionel. Fellas, how y'all doing, man? What's happening?
Everything's good, man. All is well over here, bro.
That's what's up.
Yeah,
L, you
man.
good?
Same here, same here. Yeah, I'm good, brother. I'm good. I'm hanging in there tough, man. How about yourself?
Yeah, man, I can't complain, man. Ain't nobody gonna listen to me if I did, man.
Yeah.
So I don't
There it
even.
is. There it is.
Yeah, man, everything's cool, man. Hey, we got a I don't think this might be the first, man. We're gonna talk some hoop tonight, man. So we got we got a special guest, man, Hooper, father, and I'm gonna let like Lionel, you know how we do, Lionel, man. When it's one of our guys, man, we get the lead and the intro, man. So Bird, it's one of your guys, man. It's your plug, man. So let everybody know who we got in the neighborhood tonight, man.
All right, man. So we got my man Moe Hawkins. I remember back maybe close to 20 years ago. My roommate Ian McCullough, shout out to E in college. When we got the recruits, Ian and I were always the two that we host everybody, man, whether the transfers or the incoming freshmen. And we had the opportunity to host Mo. We made him feel at home. I mean, and the rest was history, man. And from that point on, man, we've built a friendship, and that's turned into a brotherhood. That's turned into family. So it's just an honor tonight to have him, here in the neighborhood. So Mo, what's up, man? You can talk a little bit about, you know, how you got to where you're at, and we'll take it from there, brother.
Cool. Appreciate y'all, man. And once again, thanks for having me. It's definitely an honor to come through and talk to, three good brothers and black brothers at that, about something that, I hold near and dear to my heart. Not only just the sport of basketball, but also just working with the youth and, helping them develop as people. That's something that's been, tremendously important to me. So, I definitely look forward to elaborating on some topics today and being able to, shed some insight on a lot of different topics and my perspective on those topics. I'm a basketball trainer, also a business owner. Pure Gold LLC. We work with children from the early ages of 4 years old all the way through high school. We've worked with a couple of college athletes when they're home in the summertime, even a couple of pros here and there. But I got into the business of basketball training full time about this is going on my fifth year. So with that being said, my bread and butter, I found in the process is I like working with the younger kids and elementary, middle school, and high school is cool too. But I just really wanted to be able to have a deep impact on the youngins and have an impact on them early. As you know, we all grew up and we had parents and OGs telling us a whole bunch of stuff, and a lot of those things that used to stick with us. I feel like were the things that we learned early on. As we got a little bit older, we got a little bit more hard headed. Thinking we men and all of those type of things, and I found that I'm able to have a lot bigger impact on the confidence and the foundation of the children. Just getting them early on if their parents want to get them involved or if the kid is interested. I like to say like my bread is butter is that elementary, middle school age. That's where what I like to, focus on, as a basketball trainer because I can really tap into that foundation. This is the second business I've owned. I owned a roofing company, and the roofing industry was great to me, all that good stuff, and it was definitely fruitful. But as you grow older, you start to search more and more for like the things that you're passionate about, the things that really you wake up and they just make you tick. You know what I mean? You wake up and you just want to get to it. And I remember, I give my wife a lot of credit because I remember when we were on vacation, believe it or not, y'all, and I still was owning my share of the roofing business. And I was telling her, I was like, I really want to do this. I really want to do this. But sometimes it feels too good to be true. Like, this is this is a job. This is a career. This is something I could really take to a high level, because as I was growing up, a lot of the trainers were, the guys that you might have met at the rec or just a coach that does it a little bit on the side. Somebody who, just does it kind of like a part-time thing. I never grew up on, train basketball trainers and having facilities and, being able to have, be able to work with a large quantity of kids and have a huge impact on the community. It was training when I was coming up was a lot more, I'm gonna say like secret. I'm gonna say secretive. You know what I mean? Like I was one of those kids who, I didn't know the elite guys like the KDs, the Ty Lawsons, the Nolan Smiths. I didn't know those guys were like in a gym in the cut with, Keith Williams and all of these, these guys who knew the game before them, working on that game on a day-to-day basis. And I was a kid who used to just grab my basketball, go outside, see Michael Jordan and, Kobe and all those guys, Allen Iverson, and just go out there and be like, I'm about to go try this. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to go work on this. And, that was my whole foundation with it. So, being able to, getting the insight on development a little, I would say later in my basketball career was huge for me. It gave me an opportunity to play college basketball, and take it from high school to college. But it was one of those things where I'm like, man, I wish I had this. Like, I wish I had this structure. I wish I had this guidance. You know what I mean? And so from that point on, it was always something in the back of my head that like I enjoyed, and I knew when I had a son, if he was interested, if I was gonna put the ball around him, I was gonna see how he take to it. But as soon as he showed that interest, it was something that I did with him on a consistent basis just to see if it was something he was interested in. I coached a lot of youth teams, so meaning that I just coached the youth, like basically in like leagues and things of that nature. But I really wanted to get on the side of, um, really wanted to get on the side of development and that, consistent grind towards, meeting those type of goals that, parents have for their children and kids have for themselves. So, that's how I, kind of got to where I am now. That's part of where I got to where I am now. Like I said, I give my wife a lot of credit because, we were on vacation one year and she said, I think you should just, she was like, if you're going to really do this, because I was doing a little bit on the side. And
Yeah.
she was like, if you really want to take this to the next level, like you have to put your mind to it. Like you really have to like, put your attention to it. You can't just, do it as almost like a just a responsibility. You have to put the strategy into it. You have to, really put your mind to it. And it was a tough leap of faith, what I'm saying? Most importantly because it's basketball. It's like, I love basketball. Y'all, I'm sure y'all love the game. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you wake up every day and you're like, man, this is work. This is what I do. But as you get more and more into it, you realize, it's about, not only just coaching children on a day-to-day basis, but like becoming a better teacher, becoming a better leader, and also being strategic about your growth. So while you look at it on the outside of like, oh, it's just a basketball trainer, like one of the biggest things I wanted to do was I wanted to do it differently than a lot of the guys that came before me. I feel like it was more of a hustle, and I really wanted to create opportunities for, people who used to hoop or, people who want to stay close to the game. And, that was my focus when I got into it. So, that's where I am now with it, man.
Solid.
Hey, so I mean, man, I know you say you from California, right?
Yep. Originally Bay Area.
So I mean, I know you say right where I was talking about recruiting and you came on a visit, but hey, how you end up over here, man, all the way from Cali, man? Wasn't no schools from here to there that you like to go to?
Yeah, right, man. So how it happened. So see how it happened was,
Yeah.
um, so we lived in the Bay Area. I was my mom raised me and my brother. I got a younger brother that's 2 years younger than me. His father, which is, I call him my father as well, because I've known him since I was so young. But they raised us in the Bay Area. Um, when my folks split, we had a couple of years afterwards where my mom, was basically raising me and my brother on her own, in a sense. And although she had to support a family, like my grandparents lived out there, I have an aunt that lived out there, and the middle sister lived here in Maryland. She went to Howard, so I got two aunts that went to Howard. So they graduated from Howard. One of my aunts stayed in Maryland while my other aunt and my mom were still in the Bay Area. And my aunt, like I said, my aunt came back to the Bay Area after Howard. And years went past, and as my mom was, raising us as a single mother, that cost of living in California started getting crazy, man. And my aunt, it was, I don't know I think it was my aunt. I'm gonna say it was my aunt's idea, but my aunt's idea. First, my grandparents moved from the Bay Area to Maryland. So when they moved, they were probably out there for maybe like 3-4 years, something like that, maybe a couple years. And so, they got out there. My aunt, my middle sister, my mom's sister, was out there. And I'm sure they were telling them, like, the cost of living, the comparison, the life comparison, the quality, and all that good stuff. I'm sure they talked about it a lot. And eventually, we moved. We followed them out there. You know what I mean? My aunt packed her family up, and my mom decided that she wanted to make that move. Like, my aunt sold her. She had a 2-bedroom house, man. A 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that shared the dining room that shared the kitchen. Man, she sold that house probably for probably like a half a million, maybe a little over a half a million then. And this is like in 2001, y'all.
Yeah.
And in Maryland, at this time, you can get you a 5-bedroom, three and a half baths with a big
Yeah.
basement, for I think it was like high 200s at the time.
Yeah.
And so the family made that choice to make that move, just most importantly because of the cost of living and probably the quality of life. And I gotta say, when I came here to Prince George's County, it was like a culture shock because I had never in my life seen that many successful Black folks. Where I came from in the Bay Area, the successful folks were, of different races. You know what I mean? So, it was definitely a culture shock, and it was rewarding to see. Like, I remember, like it was yesterday, one of my first days being in PG, I saw a Black woman driving a Bentley. I was like, oh man, we in Beverly, you know what I'm saying? Fresh Prince, then you know what I'm saying, and made it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how we got over here to this side, though, man.
That's what's up, man. Lana, before y'all go, man, Lana, remember you was talking about it, man, a couple episodes ago, man, about like seeing it, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you remember that. Like when you was just saying when we go different places, man, you might be in Atlanta, you might be just leaving home and going different places, man, and seeing like inspiration, man, stuff that, the people that you saw, Mo, I'm sure they wasn't doing it for you, but you just happened to see it and you was like, damn, like they look like me. Like, so if they got it, you know what I'm saying, I can, you know what I'm saying, that give you that motivation, man, no matter if you into sports or you into, you know what I'm saying, whatever you into. So that's good that back then, man, you was peeping that, man, because we still talk about that today, man. Just being able to see stuff and get inspired by seeing people that look like you or people that come from where you come from, man, that's doing something positive and productive, man. So
100%, 100%. And to piggyback off of that, it's kind of like one of them things where you growing up and you like, I might do all right, but like the folks that's rich or the folks that got money, this is who they are. And it was one of them stereotypical things we used to just walk around with. Like, we just knew that, people of different races certain races were going to, it was kind of like how we looked at it. And I thank God every day, that was one of the changes all the time. And I thank him all the time about that being one of the changes that happened in my life. It was tough at the time, but I'm very thankful for that because, it's nothing, I don't believe it's nothing we can't do now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Yep.
No, I was gonna. It's funny you brought that up, John, because I'm sitting there thinking. I had a conversation today, and in therapy, a lot of men talk in analogies, right? And as we talking, and basketball is one of the analogies, obviously, right? And so when you think about hooping, and I think this is for anybody, for real, right? But when you look, really, all y'all play ball on a collegiate level, all right. But when you like being in different areas and getting inspired, like at what point does the light bulb come on and say, all right, this is shifting for me now. I'm when does that I guess what I'm asking, when does that confidence kick in? Like, all right, I'm that guy, and this can take me somewhere. Because I think sometimes a lot of kids, and people in general don't really see their potential, don't really see what they can do in any arena, but particularly in sports, right? Kids really have a hard time seeing what they're capable of because they're just looking side to side and comparing themselves. But what is that like? What that when that confidence kicks in, or what does that take in order to see, either for you guys or just from your experience too, Mo, in working with kids?
I'll take it first. It's definitely different for everybody. You know what I mean? In today's forecast, I think it's a lot different than what it was when we were coming up, right? Because, right, I think nowadays you have like this. People believe that there's like a template of like what it looks like to be a pro player or whatever the case may be. So if he's tall, if he's athletic, if he's all these things. But as we know, those things matter, but it really matters like what's in the player. You know what I mean? Like that's what matters the most. So I would say like when I was coming up, um I it was I'm gonna say it was it was the opposite for me. I'm gonna play it like this. It was the opposite for me because I want to say my aunt helped me to be a realist. Like I always tell this story and I say like, she might have killed my dream a little bit, but like she gave me the reality of the situation, right?
Mhm.
So I was one of those kids who always wanted to play and, wanted to be everywhere playing, worked on his game. But it became a time where she kind of told me the facts and she was like, hey, I want you to keep chasing, you know what I mean, and keep loving this as long as you love it, but I do want to give you the reality of basketball, you know what I mean? And so she kind of broke the statistics down to me and I had never heard this stuff ever before. And that's, to be honest with you, I feel like it's one of them things where you don't want to say it, but you also need to say it.
Yeah.
And she kind of let me know those statistics, and as she let me know those statistics, it kind of kept things in a perspective for me. It didn't make me stop working hard, but it definitely gave me some insight to say, okay, like if it's not looking like this at a certain point, you need to start, and don't ever just cross out any other possibilities of what else that you could be. You know what I mean? So it gave me that insight. So for a kid like me, I want to say that was around like 12, 13 years old. You know what I'm saying? So she kind of, as I was approaching high school, I think she wanted me to have a little bit more, insight on like, it could be a real world outside of, it is a real world outside of basketball.
Yep.
And for the kids nowadays, I think that I think the goals, number one, the goals are a little bit different. Like parents are cool with their kid just getting an NIL. You know what I'm saying? Like in today's forecast, they like, shoot, we get this NIL, you straight. Like, it's up to you after that.
Yeah.
But I think nowadays the kids, parents too, they're a little bit unrealistic with their expectation because a lot of times they associate height with success, and although, that gives, you can't teach height. I think that parents sometimes, put a little bit, put different expectations on their kids or on their family, with that. But a lot of times with the kids, bought for themselves, man, I would say they don't really realize it until high school. Like I mean, you have to go out and you have to prove yourself to, nowadays is so much hype, man. I just went to go watch the little the high school classic up at the Matha, y'all. Man, listen, bro. They got the whole lineup is 6'4" and up for some
Yeah.
of these schools that are top in the country. 6'4", y'all. Like I'm talking shooting guard 6'7", already looking like not the league frame, but they got the league height. You know what
Yep.
I mean? And so I think with that being said, they come a dime a dozen nowadays. I mean, it's a lot of kids out here that have height and all that stuff. So I think it's one of them things where you have to go play against the best and prove yourself. One of the top players, I'm sure, hopefully y'all heard of him, Ant Brown from out here. Um, Look him up if you haven't heard about him, but he's a kid that's like 6'1" and he's out here scoring 40 and 5 assists on everybody. Like it don't matter what sides, whatever. He on the road doing it. He out in California doing it. So I think one of the biggest things is in high they learn that in high school because they have to prove that they can do that against the best.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exposure is it, man. That's what I think, man. You gotta,
Yeah.
and it's like a like what you say, Lana. It's and you Mo. It's like a fine line, man, because you say your aunt she might have killed your dream, she might not have, but us as like parents, we got to be like careful how we give our kids the real,
Mm-hmm.
because if you was built a different way, it might have killed you. It might have killed it for you, even though
Right.
she was telling you something that's factual. It still could have made you not work as hard or made you go and want to be something else when you're
100%.
supposed to be doing. And wait, we and then we not you might not have pure gold if
Right.
she, you know what I'm saying, if you go the wrong way or she tell you the wrong thing and you don't take it the right way. So I just think it's like expose your kids to everything, man. And as far as basketball, and that was say what I was probably when I was younger. Um, my thing was I think I knew like super early. And then that hurt me later because I knew like I'm him, like I said earlier, I'm him at 7 years old. All you know,
Mm-hmm.
all the way till 16. Then I was like, oh no, it's some other guys out here. But
Yeah.
I didn't, like I said, I didn't know. I ain't had the knowledge. And you know, hey, our parents, they don't even know what they know. So it's no guns to shoot on.
Right.
It's no individual workouts. It's no it's nobody that could work you out. You just go outside and hoop, and if you ain't, you know what I'm saying, you can't get up 1,000 shots out in your driveway. You just gonna
Mm-hmm.
dribble around, do some moves. So it's different now. And then, but I did play against, some of the like better guys all, when I was younger. But I think exposure is the big thing, man. You expose your kid to, you don't want them to let they get their head bashed in too early. But if you think they can play, and we all know when we think somebody's got a shot or got potential, so you just gradually expose them to, better and better competition, and then you see where they line up at. But I think that's right. But around high school, man, you should know if you got a shot, as far as like college. Now
Yeah.
NBA and all that's different because then you do got to look at those measurements, the height, and that's where people get that early NBA talk from. I feel because
Mm-hmm.
like you said, the math thing. I think did you see was Miller the Miller school at that tournament?
Nah, they wasn't. They wasn't.
I thought they played at that
Or if they
tournament.
were, I didn't get to catch them.
Yeah, because they said they played against somebody. It was a big school from Arizona out there.
Mm-hmm.
It was a couple schools. They said it
It
was
was
the
a
math.
cool. It was a school called uh
I'm gonna tell you
Pre-
right now.
Pre- Premier Prep or something like that, man, from out
Yeah,
Florida.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the
But
number two team, man. Point guard, man. And
Bella,
and you battling against a lot these days. These kids be a little older, and you know what I'm
yeah.
saying.
What about did
Oh
you see it was a
yeah.
school called Bella Vista?
I heard they were there. I didn't get to catch them though.
Yeah, so they played them. They played that
Okay.
school. They was from Arizona. They played them on like Saturday morning or something, like 8 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah, yeah,
8:30
yeah,
in the
yeah.
morning. So
I caught the evening ones, man. I caught
yeah,
most of those evening ones.
yeah, man. But yeah, like I said, man, I just feel you never know, man. But exposure, I think, is important for that type of thing, man. Because when you just playing in your area, and if you ain't living up in DC, you ain't in New York or Cali, around here, it's competition around here, but you got to
Yeah.
go find it, man. So you can easily be like sheltered and thinking that your child or you or they're good, but if you trying to hide them or you ain't really letting them get out there and get their feet wet, then they
Right.
got a wake call when they get to 14, 15 years old. So yeah, you just
Yep.
got. I think it's like a delicate thing, man. You just got to have that balance, man.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And you talk about that exposure, John, and I remember, playing basketball. It's actually like when you left to go to private school, man.
Yeah.
Um, one thing that John always did, I didn't end up going. I was supposed to go to school with him at one point, but even though I didn't didn't end up making it there with him, what he always would do was he'd be like, "Yo, Bird, just drive to my house. We're gonna go up. We're gonna work out. Come up. We're gonna go up. We're gonna go to the gym. We're gonna be in the gym." And I think like that was when I started to realize like it's much more to this game than
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
just going out here playing, going out here practicing. Like you really got to work at it to be better. And I think that, spending the summer coming up hooping with him, playing against guys from like Lithuania, all over the country, having that exposure, just, it being in the sweatbox, it really, changed my mindset. And you get a perspective on how good you are. So the question I have for you, Mo, is like when you were training kids and some of them come in with like a specific mentality, you know what is the, I guess, and it's probably for older kids, like what is the breakdown for you to start them at a point and meet them where they're at so they can develop on track?
Yeah, so that's one of the biggest reason why we kind of like I named it, you know, pure gold, like because everything that I wanted to do for a player that came in, I wanted to be kind of like goal oriented. So I wanted to know exactly what, a kid needs to get better at or a player needs to get better at. And I wanted to really hone in and focus on those things. So like, every group that I do or every private that I do is really geared around, what either the parents' goals are, or even if that parent doesn't know and they're bringing them to me and they're like, okay, where is he at? And, what kind of goals do you think he should have or we should have for him? So, that's one of those things that I make sure that I implement early. So that process is really just kind of getting them in and seeing what they can do. Like I think some we see all these little social media pages of players working on all these different moves and all this type of stuff. And it's good to having your tool chest, but I think sometimes we've gotten far away from just the fundamentals of like footwork, mechanics and shooting,
Right.
all those things. So I make sure no matter what the age is, I make sure that they come in and they know those things. Like I've gotten kids, middle school and they may be doing great in basketball, or to their liking in basketball, and their footwork is wrong when they shoot. You know what I mean? Or they don't really know their footwork, or they don't know, the mechanics because they just have played, or they didn't have a parent that kind of, knew or have gone through those things. So, I make sure no matter what I explain, especially like the middle school and up, you got to really explain to them like what's correct. You know what I mean? You gotta explain to them in all those different options. But for the youngins, it's for my young ones, it's a lot easier. I have, elementary school kids that have mastered their footwork in shooting already and have solid forms and all this type of stuff. So it's really I take the same approach with everybody, as far as like making sure that they have a solid foundation on all of those things. And if they are a little bit ahead, then we start working on the things that that they kind of display as weaknesses, when they play in a game, or whatever the case would be, and a lot of things like IQ. I have a couple players that I have their parents send me their film from the tournament, and those type of things, and start really like mapping out plans to help them get better in those areas that they may be lacking in a tournament,
Yeah.
or in games, high school games or middle school games or whatever the case may be. So, I kind of, I always meet a kid where they are. That's important to me. And I try to, and that's why I like the young ones because sometimes like you might meet a kid that's in middle school and he might just think he that, and he might be,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But there's some things that, in order to take whatever he's doing to the next level that he may want to tone up before he gets there. And so, I take a lot of pride in that, and I take a lot of pride in daily education to, as far as teaching these things, to these kids too.
Yeah, that I know you said it earlier before we got on, man. You like, and when Ray sent us over like some notes and stuff, man, that you like working with the younger kids more. And I
Yeah,
feel like that's because it's like you can mold them, man. You can kind of they ain't got the
yeah.
bad habits, hopefully they don't got the bad habits
I
and
don't got
stuff
no
like that.
girlfriend.
Yeah, they ain't got nothing. They don't got nothing. They don't got no life weighing them down, man. They ain't got nothing. They don't got no place to be. They just,
and
they just glad to be in the gym.
and as parents we play a big part in helping our kids learn what commitment is, you know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
like we don't, when they're young or early on, we don't really have to, sometimes you do, but like a lot of times if a kid enjoys something, you don't really gotta you're not fighting with too many things. The iPad will be there when you're done. You know what I'm saying? But like,
Mhm.
the kids wanting to go places and be with certain people and different things that the older kids, kind of have up against them. It's a little bit easier and you can build that foundation with the kids that kind of have a more simple life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that's a fact, man. And like, I don't know about you, Lionel. Lionel got he got a son that's teenager playing different sports, man. So I don't know what type of question, I don't know what type of parent he is out there. If he out there with his hands on, sitting
But
on his
no,
hange, or he got to walk
bro,
outside and take a break and come
bro,
back. So, but
bro.
like I said before you go, Lionel,
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask you because like I told you, I got two. They ain't into it. They ain't into it yet. But like I said, for me selfishly, I don't want them. I don't want to push them into it because me and the type of person I am, type of player that I was, I don't want to be one of them parents that either or somebody says, "Oh, you're living through your child. You're trying to get somebody your child that maybe you thought you should have, or like the NIL, which I mean, we all gonna know how to be responsible when it comes if our kid gets to that level with all that type of stuff that they throw at you. But as far as just sports in general, man, I want my kids to be, I want them to want it. So they're gonna have to pull me to the gym. I'm not gonna pull them to the gym. And I guess you could say it's a balance with that because maybe I could pull something out of them they don't know they got in them. But for me right now, man, where I'm at with my sons, man, I'm gonna let them pull me to whatever field or court you want to be on. You're gonna have to pull me to it, man, because I'm gonna be that. I can see myself being. I don't think I will be into training, but for me and my son, if they want to play, once they tell me they want to do something, well, I'm gonna be 100 miles an hour into it with them. But that's why I want them to tell me because I don't want to be that father that your kid is resenting you because you got them in the gym when they want to be in streaming on a laptop or something on a PC. So
Hmm.
that's tough. I know you said you got a son that he on his way right now. So what you did you experience that? Did he just want it, or did you have to hand it to him or nudge him out there, or how did he get started, man?
So Carter, he's 7. And in the beginning, man, I still was involved with the game myself. Like I still was playing in like men's leagues.
Yeah.
I was still playing like, sometimes going up to the court and just getting shots up. So like, I didn't grow up with my biological father. So like I'm one of them dads who I'm like, man, I'm gonna have my youngin with me. You know what I mean? So, he's with me a lot. And taking him to those environments. I started, kind of just messing around with him and started
Mhm.
noticing that, he was at least interested in playing and doing it with me. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how we got it started. You do the whole thing, you buy him the Fisher Price court. So this is, and I'm talking like maybe like at the end of I'm gonna say like around 3, y'all. Like I would just have him at the court. I would just be dribbling the ball. He would start trying to like take it away from me, and when he get it, he'd be running with it, laughing, all that type of stuff. So like that's kind of like how the birth of it happened. And from there got him to Fisher Price Court, the whole, whole shebang, man. And really, around the house, he always would have a ball. So no matter if it was a baseball, I mean, I'm sure that's a common thing with boys, but like, no matter if it was a baseball, anything that was round, that boy
Mhm.
had it in his hands and he was throwing it or he was shooting it. Man, I got videos of Carter where he could barely walk. And he would throw the ball like with energy and all this type of stuff, man, like early on. So it was one of them things where I was like, all right, like I'm gonna put it as as an ex hooper myself, or I still hoop to this day, actually. But
Mhm.
as a hooper myself, I said I'm gonna put it around him. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna bring him around it. He don't really have a choice, being my son.
Yeah.
And him being around the game, he started taking to it around the house more. And then really started, fellas. I started with like I bought a ladder. I said, I'm gonna go from the ground up. Like I bought like a ladder off of Amazon, like an agility ladder. I would have tennis balls, and I just honestly, guys, I was like working on his hand-eye coordination and teaching him little stuff on the ladder so his feet could be decent. And we had him in soccer, we got him in soccer, we got him in baseball, all that stuff early. He was good in actually both those sports. Um, and and with the basketball thing, like, I had a little court outside, and I would take him out there and we would dribble for like 10 minutes, right? Like I'd have him out there do a couple little dribble things for 10 minutes. And then after we start doing it for a couple of weeks, I started seeing him, like, after we did the ball hand, I would leave him alone. He'd still be messing around with the ball. He'd still be trying to shoot it up there, still engaged. So when I started noticing that, I said, we just gonna add 5 more minutes. And it's just kind of like muscle, you know what I mean? Like going to the gym and lifting weights.
Yeah.
So like each week I started adding like 5-10 minutes onto the time that we would work on ball handling, like footwork. And then finally, I want to say, like, after a couple of months of just messing around, it got to, like, this is probably like this more in the spring and summertime. It got around to the next year, and I said, you know what? One of my boys up in Marlboro, he had a training group that he was working with some kids. So I'm like, before I really really start working with him, I'm gonna take him to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So I took him there, and he was into it, man. Like he kind of built his little brotherhood there, and he looked forward to it, y'all. And I think the whole, like, I kind of I kept him involved with, like, every step of the way. Like, look, these are basketball shoes. Oh, look, these are basketball shorts, and what I'm saying, to the point, like, this is what basketball players do. They don't wear their basketball sneakers to practice. They wear flip flops, and then they, you know what I'm saying. So it became more of like a experience, I want to say, in the beginning. And as a father, as I started to see him take to it more, we just started beefing up, the things that we were doing. And it was one of them things where, there are times that you have to check yourself as a father, because it's especially dealing with young children, like, it's a process. You know what I'm saying? It's a process, and it's a long process. So, like, while you might want certain things, like, hey, you were doing it like this 2 weeks ago, like, I'm sure today you could do it, like, go a little hard, like those things. And there were times where I had to, like, just remind myself, like, yo, you gotta just pace yourself. You know what I'm saying? Pace yourself with them. And even to this day, like, what I'm saying, I ain't no saint. Like, there's days I go in, I'm like, boy, like, get on the line. Like I told you, like, this, we've been working on this for how long? Blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? But, like, the one thing, if you get around my son, like, this is what I believe, like, and because I ask him every day, like, do you want to go to the gym, or, like, what do you want to do? We could do this, and I try to bait him. I try to, like, we could do this instead. Like, we could go here. We could do, like, I'm really, like, messing with him to see, like, is he going to take to the iPad or the arc? I might use the arcade. I might use all these different things, man. But I think the biggest thing as a father is, like, I keep things balanced. Like, on the weekends we have fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he might have some games and stuff like that on some weekends, but we hit the arcade. Like Ray know, like, we always doing something. And it kind of, and I try to teach him the value of hard work. And, like, I don't base all of the hard work that we do around, like, basketball. Like, I remind him, like, we're doing this because, like, no matter what you do in life, you're going to be great at it because you've learned how to commit to this process of what you're doing. So, as a father, that's kind of how I got him involved. And that's kind of, like, how I built that foundation of, like, what commitment looks like. And, I try to remind him on a day-to-day basis, like, honestly, y'all, day-to-day basis, like, this ain't about, like, people will come to me, be like, yo, he going to, or he going this, I'm like, man, look, don't even say that. Like, I don't even want to hear that. Like, you know what I mean? Because our purpose is a little bit different. So, that's how we got involved. And, that's kind of like how we've been warming up with it, to get to where we are today.
Yeah, that's dope.
I love that. I love that, because it's like you're teaching your son the process of making your dreams come true. I think there's a part of what I'm hearing, man, is the intention meeting action. Mm-hmm. And I always sit back and just wonder what separates one child from the next, right? You know, a lot of times it's hard work. A lot of times it's the work they putting in behind the scenes. Um, and I think but then on the other side, you got these freakish athletes that can like you mentioned earlier, man. It was no training back in the day, but really like picking that ball up and just going outside and just putting time in, hooping, shooting, right?
Yeah.
And and I think that's kind of what I often kind of try to wrap my mind around. Like John mentioned, my son, um, 12, right? He trying to learn basketball. I mean, he's a kid, man, that like to your point, always been active with playing sports, but then he'll switch up his tune, man. Like, all right, I'm gonna play. I want to do football. All right, and they'll put down one sport, and I want to go back to play basketball. And so one of the things that I've just always wanted to expose them, man, and often what I've learned is like they now gravitate to that thing, but I'm seeing the difference, right? Because if we're not putting that work in on the back end, then you're not going to have the results you want game time or at practice or around your peers. And so, that is so big, man. I'm learning that more and more. My oldest is 18, so she plays softball. And so I'm thinking, all right, she was a little different, right? Where she was, I would say, everything that she wanted just comes to her, right? Like very just that athlete, that talent, right? She didn't really have to put a whole lot of time in, but he's the opposite. He got to put the time in because the talent ain't all the way there, but he got to put the time in and he wants it more, right? And so I'm seeing the difference in these kids, right? And as a dad, right? And this is the thing I'm learning, right? You guys may, you may be able to kind of, all y'all may be able to understand this and process this, but all right, we all young men, like we all in that, right around that age where it's like, all right, we gotta start thinking about so many real things, right? We gotta start thinking about our retirement, we gotta start thinking about college tuitions and parents and family and being that person, that successful person in your family, right?
Yep.
And then it's like, all right, how do I chase my dreams and help them work on their dreams, right? Because that time you putting in with your son at a very young age, that's the intent. You taught him the intentionality, like, hey, we're gonna be good. We gotta work on these very basic things first, and then we gotta invest more in time. And like you said, then we add more time. You invest in more time, the action, right? And all your people around you see the talent, they see the skill, they see the determination in your son. But how are you balancing? I guess the question, man, as I wrap that up, man, is like, how are you balancing this? Like, how are you finding your balance with helping your son develop and you also develop and grow yourself?
Nah, yeah, that's a great one because in the beginning when I first started kind of got him around it, I wasn't doing this full time yet. So it was one of the things where I literally had to like carve out I still do, but like I wasn't already at the gym. You know what I mean? So it's like I gotta go to the gym or we gotta go outside and do this. So it was definitely a challenge in the beginning, but I gotta say, one thing that's a little bit different about me, I think because I didn't grow up with my pops, like I'm willing to put that first. You know what I'm saying? And everybody has their different way of viewing things and how they do things. Like you got some people that, they grind so hard that they barely see their children and they're still great parents. You know what I'm saying? But it's just a different lifestyle, a different walk that they live. And I feel like I feel like I take my, I want I want to be a great father and I want my kid to always remember how much I was there for him for those things. That's kind of like what I base my life on. Like
Yeah.
I won't hang with friends and there's people I won't see and do things with because like I'm very intentional about like the time that I spend with my kids. I have a daughter as well. So like and she hooping too, y'all.
Yeah.
She just started. She 4. But I'm very just intentional about the time that I spend with my kids. So, in the beginning, like it was challenging because, I'm being pulled in different directions, but it became a lot easier because like for example, like I could be making like my son is my first client of the day. Like you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
when he gets out of school, we got his home, we got everything. We going to the gym, we doing what we got to do with the homework. After that, we going. They got desks in the facility. We go downstairs and we go work out, right? But like there are so many kids that and parents that want to work with my son, like they want their kids to work with my son, or like it's money I could be making in that time slot. A lot of opportunity throughout the week that I could be making in that time slot. But I put all of that on hold to make sure that he gets his individualized time to work on the things like the mechanics because he's young, so he needs to be focused. He gets a quiet gym, all of those different things. And I just kind of as of late start letting some kids like kind of intermingle with his sessions because we got a lot of the foundational stuff. We pretty solid on a lot of foundational stuff. So it just, all in all to answer that question is just it's definitely a tough balance. And I say for parents who have different demanding schedules, or they may have to get home at a certain time because of their travel getting home and all those different things. you know I understand it a lot better. I understand it well because I work with a lot of kids whose parents have that lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? So where they have to get grandma to bring them to their workout, or they have to get older brother or whoever it is, or they may have to shoot. It's parents. I got parents that have built trust with me where they'll drop their kid off and got to go take their daughter somewhere across town, come back to get their son, and they leaving their son with me. You know what I mean? So um, it's one of those things where I understand both sides of it for sure. But for me as a father, it's became easier because now I'm a basketball trainer and I have a basketball training business and I do that full time now. But when it wasn't full time, it was definitely hard. Like it was days I came home where I'm like, man, I just want to kick back, man. Like
Yeah.
but again, there was a little bit knowing that is bigger than just wanting to be a hooper. I wanted to give there's only a few things I felt like early on you could teach your kid how to be committed to. Sports is one of those things, you know what I'm saying? That they just understand that they may enjoy, and, that you can teach them and show them growth through, you know what I mean? School and all that too. But, and we spend just as much as time as school as we do, the sports. Like we come home and we do the work, and or he might work out with me, and when he comes home he might have did all his homework and everything. My wife gonna spend an hour and a half with him, reading, writing, talking about what he learned in the day. Like we're very intentional. I thank God for her too, but we're very intentional as a team when it comes to that. But it was tougher, but I definitely understand it's tough when you are already in the gym and you got multiple kids and you got to go here and you got to go there. But I think it's easier when they get older because your kid has more of a like, yo, I like you said, like John said, like, yo, I got to get to the gym, mom. I got to get to the gym, dad. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's a little bit easier than it is when they're younger, because it's like you kind of making a choice. You kind of like, do I want to I those days that I didn't feel like doing that and I just want to lay back and turn on some Netflix, I had to remind myself. And there were some of those days where I just turned it on, but like I had to remind myself, like, hey, what are you trying to teach him right now? Like, what are you trying to, and that's those are the kind of like disciplines that I lean on as a parent, and being available, and having that availability. I never take that for granted. Like I never, everybody's walk is different. I never take for granted that like I get to pick my kid up, and after I pick him up, we could go work out right afterwards, right up the street. You know what I'm saying? And so that's a beautiful thing. And also, look forward to more and more, just leaders, just men and women that are leaders, where parents feel comfortable, dropping their kid off, and knowing that they're gonna get good, good, have a good mentor, somebody that's gonna look out for them, all of those type of things, because these kids can barely even go outside nowadays by themselves, so it's a huge thing to be able to be there for them, and also be there most importantly for my kids.
Yeah.
That's, that's what's up, man. One thing you talked about a little earlier is like, you know, it's not about trying to make it, right? You know, utilizing the sport itself as an opportunity to instill values in the children at an early age. You know, I remember, and I'm sure all of us can remember times when we're playing sports at an early age, and you might meet some adversity. And I think that, you know, as you get older, experiencing that at a young age is either going to do one thing for you. You're going to either stick with it, you might not like it, you might not come back to show up. And, you know, taking that opportunity to utilize those moments in youth and really showing them, you know, that, you know, showing them the things that they don't see in themselves. Um, how does that work for kids at a young age? Like what do you do to kind of pull those things out the kids that you see that they may not see yet?
Yeah, that's a good one, man, because you know, I have kids who, they come in young kids, y'all, that just have this amazing high level of confidence about themselves. And you have some kids that, again, like they're a little bit, the personality is different, you know what I'm saying? And I think the biggest thing um is just number one, like we were saying before, is just meeting them where they are. If a kid comes in and he doesn't want, if you try to put a certain level of challenge on him in the beginning, and it's something that he's kind of shying away from, it's just kind of like keep him in his comfort zone for a little bit, get to know the kid. Like that's a big part. It's like when a kid comes in and they start to look forward to seeing you, like forget all the basketball stuff and forget all the drills. Like when they start to look forward and you're like a person, like a figure in their life, that's when you can kind of get them to trust you a little bit more in those different challenges. And so there are kids that come in and they're crying on day one, and I'm like, nah, just come walk with me, man, you good, you know what I'm saying, I'm just the small things, no forcing them, you know what I mean, just
Yeah.
making them feel comfortable. And then you look up a week later and they done forgot their parent is even in the gym, you know what I'm saying? So you know, as a father, I try to remind myself always that, like, these are kids, and like if you want them to, enjoy this or even take to it, you got to make sure like their entry to it is solid. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
it's a challenge for sure, but I think we just hone in on like the fundamentals and the things that kids can do. We hone on those things so much that like by the time we're asking them to do something else, it adds up. Like they can do it probably before we even ask them to do it. It's just we got to get them feeling so confident about the first things that we're asking them to do. You know what I mean? Like I have a group of kids, and we might be working on the same stationary ball handling formats for 8 weeks straight, y'all. But it's that boring stuff. You know what
Yep.
I mean? But by the time you get at the end of that 8 weeks, you ask a kid, hey, throw it behind your back, or like, you know what I mean, or throw it through your legs. At least they have the ability and the confidence in their dribble or whatever it is to do that. And they also have seen how they've gotten better, or they've hearing their parents champion them, us champion them, and kind of and remind them of how better they got from the first day that they came in. It's like I've had kids, y'all, that were shooting on like 6 feet, 6.5 feet short baskets, and now they up on a 10 foot basket swishing jumpers. You know what I'm saying? So, it's a thing. It's one of those things where like when the parent keeps them around us, number one, they build that trust with us. And then secondly, like you can remind the kid, like, man, remember when you came in, you couldn't even dribble with your left hand? Like
Yeah.
we got 4 year olds like pushing the ball full court, full speed with their left hand, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like, when you look at that, it's like, hey man, like y'all, I know sometimes like we asking these things of you guys, but like that's not normal. I was probably double. I think I was double dribbling still at like 6 years old. You know what I'm saying? So we got kids doing double crossovers and all types of stuff, man. So, I try to remind them. We do little things like we do little things like before and after videos and it's just those small things. And, I might walk up to a kid and show a kid what they look like when they first came in, and they'll look at you like, wow, like, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? So
So,
it's all a process, and it's like, raising your children, man.
Yeah, man. What talk about the if you can, man, like I don't know if you maybe you got it good, man, about the parents, man. Like, do you got parents where they coming in and telling you like, hey, my son is he like that, so you need to take him from here to there, or I'm sure you've seen it where this is how you handle it, where you got some parents where their view of their kid is not the true view of their kids. So how
Yeah,
you handle that, like as far as dealing with the parents, man, and because the kid, it's not their fault that their parent
right.
views you in a certain light, or their parent, you showing them certain things, and they want you to like, hey, my son need to know how to, we need to do some different stuff, or because they
Yeah,
they assume was I'm paying you, so this is what I want. This is what I want to see. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
how you handle with the problematic parents, if you got any.
Yeah, that's a good question. So like when a parent, especially like I would say like middle school and up for sure, when a
Yeah.
parent comes in and they say, these are the things that I want to work on with I want my son or my daughter to work on. Like
Hmm.
I'm an open ear to that. You know what I mean? Because that you guys are first of all, you guys are coming to me. I offer a service. You guys are coming to me with like things that you've experienced previous to me or that you're experiencing when I'm not around. So first of all, I always take that in consideration. But I do when I get, say if it's a player for the first time,
Hmm.
I do before I get the player, start working with the player, I do inform the parent that like, hey, like, but there are also going to be some things that you might not have known that your child or your player could work on, or that needs to work on, or that needs to know.
Hmm.
So when I come across those things, especially if it's a new client, when I come across those things, um we may have to work on those things before we get to this thing, and we might be able to work on some of those things simultaneously.
Hmm.
But a lot of times when it's say if it's a kid that like I've been working with for a little bit or have from the that's why I like foundational kids too, because it's like I'm building them up. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I like that part about it the most. But when you get somebody coming in and like, hey, this is what my kid needs, I'm going to listen to that because that's something that they want their child to get better at. But if it's something that I have to let them know, especially as a basketball player myself, or from experience, I have to let them know like, hey, like the reason why they can't do this is because they can't do this, or like the reason they don't know this, or they need to work on this before they get to the next place. So I kind of I'm very much consultative with it. And I'm also one of those guys that like I'm a straight shooter. So like I like if that's something that they're not ready for yet, or we need to work on, I'm gonna let them know. And I rest well at night knowing that like the style I coach, the way I the plans that I have for different players, I rest well at night knowing that like the reason why our brand and our business is successful is just because the way that we do it. You know what I'm saying? And so I have to lean on that more than anything, because it's like if you knew all these different things, and you would be working with your kid yourself.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like that's probably one of the most common things that like a trainer would say. But more importantly, I know sometimes it has to be another ear. The kids have to hear from another ear. Like
Yeah.
I take my son to um another trainer on Saturday, every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And I take him there just so that I get to sit back and be like, see, that's what I be talking about right there. You know what I mean? And so he could hear it from somebody else. And and because he loves the game, or likes the game, or wants to be good, it's more so one of them things. Like he'll come to me and be like, yeah, dad, like he was telling me to hold my follow through up high, and he'll smirk about it. So it's like it's definitely it takes a village, you know what I mean, to get to these kids' goals. And I look at all of this stuff as like a partnership. So I want to be there for you in every way that I can, but at the same time, like, you know, I'm the specialist in this arena. You know what I mean? And you know, I try to help my clients, and I really don't have that problem much, man.
Yeah.
But when I, you know, if I do, I definitely have to reassure them, like, I got this. You know what I'm saying? I got y'all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
That's
facts.
dope. That's good. Like, what advice would you give parents entering into youth basketball now in this day and time and in the climate overall?
I would definitely say, you know, take your time with it as far as like, you know, everybody wants to play AAU basketball now, right? And it's because I don't know if it's in different areas. Like I know in our area, for a little while, county basketball kind of fell off. I don't know if you guys have county basketball
Same
out there.
thing. It's the
Yeah,
same. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
right.
All rec
county,
ball.
Yeah.
yeah, rec ball kind of fell off for a little while. But it fell off because all of the players who, all of the players who because AAU got so big. Let's just say
Mm-hmm.
that. Like AAU got really big. So it was like everybody just wanted to be on an AAU team, right? But then, you know, what I'm noticing over the last couple years is that because children are playing the game earlier, rec ball is starting to have serve more of a purpose. And so you got a lot of parents that want to skip rec ball totally and just go straight into AAU. And a lot of times their kid isn't ready. Like we go on the road. Carter plays on the road now. And you know, you got kids that, you know, they got the rankings out here. You got kids 9 years old in the second grade. You got, you know, you got all these different things that like
Damn.
because the parents care so much about what it looks like now,
Yep.
it's like make sure that you don't put your kid in a situation that they aren't ready for yet. And what I mean by that is like confidence. Y'all know in anything to be great at anything, like confidence is key. So it's like
Yes.
in order for them to be great at something, like make sure that they go through all of the experiences of building confidence in youth sports. You know what I mean? Like take your time with that. Like there's nothing wrong with your kid going out and having a 15 to 20 point game in a county basketball game before he play AAU basketball. It's nothing wrong. It's nothing wrong with that. Like, you know what I mean? I got some parents that like, man, he gonna have to prove it to me in this county basketball before I start spending that money. You know what I mean? And I respect that. You know what I'm saying? I definitely respect that. There are times where, you know, as a parent, I'm like, boy, if you don't go out there and go, you know what I'm saying, be more aggressive, you know. And I was like,
Mhm.
you know, you'll think to yourself, like, man, we just took, oh, we got the whole family out here, my daughter, your
Yeah.
mama, like we all out here, bro. You better shoot that ball. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's like you better take those chances. And you know, it's definitely a an experience for sure. And I wouldn't change anything about, you know, our experience. But I would just say for parents, like, cause my son is like, we put in the time. I feel like if he wants to play AAU basketball and if he wants to play with these kids, I support him in that because of his commitment. You know what I'm saying? That's like my gift to him. Like, if it's like, if you're going to put the time in, I'm going to let you play with the best of them. I'm going to let you have those experiences because you're willing to put the time in with that. Like, you want to do that. So, like, that's what comes with that. If you're going to play with the best, it comes with working like you're one of the best. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so I try to like make that correlation. But you know, you have parents that you know they work with their kid once a week or twice a week, and that's all the work that they get, and that's fine. Like ain't nothing wrong with that either. But it's like don't put your kid in a situation where he's getting trapped and you know he got to dribble up the floor with his left hand and be able to read defense and all that type of stuff, and you're not getting those you know those hours of experience to put them in a successful situation. Like
Yeah.
in rec ball, they may tell you like, "Hey, y'all gotta after you score the basket, you gotta
Mhm.
run back there, get in
No track.
zone."
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
press.
Yeah. No
You
track.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's
Yeah.
good for a lot of kids because it first helps them to love the game. Like my son played county early, you know what I mean? And so he had those experiences. He still plays county to this day. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So it's like we aren't too good for that. And I think I do that also so that parents understand that like no matter how good your kid is, like you know, just let them have fun with it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Be in a
Mm-hmm.
community. Like it's a you know what we know what the percentages are out here, y'all. Like let's really like just focus on the importance of what kids develop through playing sports. I give a lot of I give a lot of credit to the success that I have in my life, just in general, the way I think, the way I compete, the way I, believe in myself, just all through sports. So it's just like, just take your time with it, and go through those steps that you need to go through before you just put them out there to the fire. Like, I see teams all the time down the road losing by 50, 60 points. And it's like, man, y'all should have stayed at home. Like, there's plenty of teams back home y'all could have competed with, and the game could have went a 5, 10 point difference. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You
Hey,
make a great
hey,
point. Go ahead, John.
hey, Bird, you remember? I ain't like it back then, man. You remember he was talking about, the rules when we played like Park and Rec. We could only score like 10
10
points.
points. Yeah, we only can score
That's all
10
you get,
points.
man.
That
So
was our cap.
That was the
yeah,
cap.
all you get was 10. This is like 9-year-olds. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's different now. That's kind of crazy that they did that, but I didn't like it then. But it did teach you like how to like think the game. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like if you good, like I only got 10. So first couple minutes, I got to get somebody else to rock. You know what I'm saying? I got to get somebody else the ball, or I got to pace myself on how you score your 10 the first quarter. What you gonna do the rest of the
Also,
game?
each player can only score 10
Nah,
points
10 points
Yeah.
first.
10 points is after
Most
you
you can
score
get is
10
per
10
points,
player,
you
per
could
player, right?
per
per
player.
player.
That's
Yeah.
dope. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it wasn't dope. It wasn't dope to me at that point, but now I can understand. Like it
Yeah.
helps you. I don't know what their thought process was on it. It was kind of probably to make everything fair, which I
Yeah.
don't really. We talk about that
It
another day.
teaches
I
you the
don't.
whole game, though. I feel like it makes
Mm-hmm.
you think
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah,
game
exactly.
outside of just
And
scoring.
that's what it did. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
That's what it did for me. It made me like I have to think through this whole game. Like I got 4 quarters, so let me get. I don't know if Bird was on the team at that time. He probably. He don't know if he's on my team. He probably was, but I'm gonna get him to rock. Or let me go. You know what I'm saying? Get some rebounds. Let me go get some
Yeah.
assists. So just from you saying about the county ball, that stuff like that gives you, fundamentals. When you get in that AAU game, it ain't happening like that. And like you said, you get caught up against the wrong team, you're not prepared, where you can't even dribble with your left hand, but you getting pressed. You turn
Right.
around, and that's the worst feeling as like a guard. Ain't no worse feeling is taking the inbounds and turn around, and it's somebody sitting there in your lap, and you don't really got the tools
You
to
don't know what to do with it. Yep.
do. So, yeah, that's what I think about when you talk about today's like it ain't a lot of fundamentals that kids got. Either if you lucky, you got a parent like yourself or one of us that we know that's important to have those fundamentals, and it's important to how to like you got to take baby steps, man. Even though your son, hey, he advanced right now, but you had to show him, you had to grow with him. You still probably like teach them. He still probably make mistakes. He still
For
probably
sure.
yeah, but that like those fundamentals, man, those and like I said, we could talk about this forever, man. But those
Mm-hmm.
just individual workouts compared to game situations. I'm sure you incorporate that with your training, man, because
Yeah.
a lot of kids I've seen where you put them in an individual workout. I hear about it in the draft, stuff like you put them in through a workout. They the best thing you ever seen. When you put 4 other people out there against 5 other people, and it's a whole different player because they don't
Yeah.
really know the game that well. So
Right. Right.
that's
Right.
important, man. I'm sure
I
you.
see.
I'm
I
sure
see
you.
a lot of that.
Yeah,
I see a lot because those kids normally are just at the end of a drill. What are they doing? They're putting the ball in the basket.
that's it.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like their only correlation with the game is like, all right, after I do this move or after this joint got to go up.
Yeah.
So so it's like it's crazy, but it's my son. I would say this is kind of like the opposite with him. Like we sit back, we watch the game. I will watch his games, and I got write little notes just to give him insight. And so he's fortunate. Um, he's fortunate enough to like understand the game on a solid level for I would say a high level for a 7-year-old because like he gets a lot of assists a game. You know what I mean? He plays defense and he gets a lot of assists and sometimes as his dad I gotta tell him like, hey man, like you
Put it
could
up.
you could put it up too, like but most of the times I walk away from the games and can't be too frustrated with it because it's like most times, man, he making the right read. You know what I'm saying? And you see all these kids that might take a chance. You know what I mean? Take this certain chance and it go in. But if it didn't, you'd be like, man, that wasn't the right play to make. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of those things that like that's why I have him playing a lot more basketball now because I want him to learn how to just enjoy experimenting and playing. You know what I'm saying? In the beginning, it wasn't too much where you could, he's 7 years old, so it wasn't too much you could do. But
Yeah.
now that he's getting a little bit older, it's like, all right, you can go out and experiment now. That's why I have him playing county too, because his AAU team a little bit more like, while his county team is like,
Yeah.
he's a leader on his team. So if he want to, sometimes y'all, and the kid is backed up too far, he come down the middle of the key, just pull the three if he want to. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think those things help just overall with like confidence, and all of those type of things. So yeah, it's definitely a beautiful thing to see when it comes to both sides of things.
Yeah. Hey Mo, who's
Yeah.
who the best who the GOAT, man? Basketball player, man.
Man, I'm Kobe, my GOAT, man. Kobe,
Yeah.
my GOAT, man.
There you go. There you
And
go.
I got I
You
got I
know,
gotta go with
I
Kobe,
thought you was
man.
gonna say that, man. But you go ahead, man. But I thought you
Mhm.
was gonna say that, man. You my kind of guy, man. Go ahead, man.
Yeah,
And the
I gotta
mindset,
go with
the
Kobe.
mindset. Yeah, the
Yeah.
mindset.
Exactly.
I can tell the mama mentality there. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? The intentionality, breaking it down to the very minute, granular thing. You know, to build it up, man. Nah, I
Yeah, that's
see it. I see it in your
Kobe
training.
system
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
man.
yeah. Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up, man.
Yep. What
Yeah.
about y'all? Who y'all GOATs, man?
That's it. That's it,
Kobe.
man.
Yeah,
Everybody
I
yeah.
think
Kobe over here?
Hey,
I
Kobe.
think Mike I think Mike is the best though, but I just ain't for me. You know what I'm saying? Of course
Yeah.
I saw it, but I'm just like so how people are with like LeBron, man. They you can't get them off the hill. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So that's how I am. Like if I was on a lie detector, I probably gonna say Mike is the best. Just because, man, I mean, god dang, and Kobe already kind of he copied him. So
2.0.
Yeah.
yeah,
2.0.
so and he did it differently, and I say in some ways he did it better, but Mike is Mike. So
We got to
Mike,
see the whole thing with Kobe.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
fact.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's a
yeah,
So
fact.
no,
that's
absolutely.
what it is, man. I grew
He's
up,
our
man. I was
GOAT for our
yeah,
generation.
yeah. I had
Yep.
an afro. I had an afro. I had
Right.
put, you know what I'm
The
saying.
wristband on the arm
I
right
put the
here by under the
wristband not
elbow.
for Mike, not for Mike. I put the wristband for Kobe. So you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But yeah, I think yeah, I definitely think Mike is it, but Kobe's it for me, man, because I just could, I saw the whole thing. Like I ain't see early Mike. I ain't see Mike at North Carolina. I watched the tapes. You know what I'm saying. I
Right.
didn't see the '80s Mike. I ain't really remember Jordan until '91 when they
Right.
playing in the. I could just take myself to like the finals against the Lakers, and then that's when I remember, Mike. But you won't watch too many Mike games. You might catch a
Yeah.
couple, but you ain't see him playoffs. You see the little what's that WGN? You catch
Right.
Mike in a couple.
WGN,
Yeah,
Chicago.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
WGN
You catch
WGN, you
Mike
took
with
me
the
that
way
frog,
back,
with the
bro.
frog, man.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. On
Yeah,
a
And I ain't,
Friday
hey,
night, that's what used to
I
go
didn't even
up.
have them channels right, Lionel. So you could watch the cable I had. You'll watch it for like 2 minutes. Then you gotta like cut it off and cut it back on. You get you like 2, 3 more minutes. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but
That's
yeah,
wild.
yeah,
Yeah,
but I'm a
yeah.
Kobe. I'm a Kobe guy, man. But I always like to ask, people that hoop, man. That you can kind of tell like where somebody's at far as that. But what would you say like your game like? Because I don't think did you play that way or how'd you model? What player you say you modeled your game after?
So like I'm more of like a D Wade kind of guy.
Okay,
You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
you slashing,
first, yeah, I was a slasher, man. I was a
yeah,
slasher, and I played defense really well too. So like I was one of them guys where, like if we was playing, I was on the best guard. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like even to this day when we hoop, like they'll put me on the biggest guy in the gym, or like you know what I'm saying, like
yeah,
whoever gonna take the most shots, just because I just kind of understood that defensive side really well,
yeah,
and I'm quite athletic too, so like I always pretty much was like I remember I used to do karate when I was a kid, and the instructor used to call me grasshopper. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Because I always kind of could jump. You know what I mean? So always been athletic, so I always kind of took that getting to the basket, that first step was pretty sharp past somebody and getting to that basket and playing defense. So I took advantage because once again, like I never had a trainer, you know what I mean? Until like
yeah,
college, I started training with my good man. Like I say the end of high school. And then like when I got to college, I really started training with my man Joey Butler. That Raymar knows, that we all went to school with. Like that was like my first time training. So like that's when I start building more technical skills. But that was really before then. It was all everything that I tried, and really athleticism and just IQ that I learned along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Watching a lot of basketball.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what
They
you
don't do
know.
that no
That's what.
more, right?
Nah, they don't. They don't. Nope. Nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
all
Still
highlights,
nope.
man. It's all highlights.
yeah. So Mo, I got a question for you, man. And LL always say this, man. I might get it wrong, but what do you say, LL, about just starting? Like, you might not have everything in order,
Oh,
but
start where you are. Start where you are.
start where you are. Yeah, starting where you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, because you're chasing your dream. Like, this is something that you dreamt about, something that you put in fruition, and like I say, all of us, man, like everything that we're doing as entrepreneurs, like we always getting that nudge from our best friend, from our wives, to really like kind of
Yeah,
push those things forward. What would you say for folks who just like are scared to take that leap, man? Like, because there's a lot of people out here who wanna become entrepreneurs, who want to
yeah,
start their own business, and they just, they hit that wall, man. But then, they might have their business plan, they might have this, but just because they don't have one thing, they're scared to start. Like, what type of advice would you
yeah.
give to those folks?
So, first of all, I have to remind myself this even to this day. Like, there's bigger things that I want to do, and there's higher levels that I want to go to, and so I deal with those same things and having to talk myself through certain things like that, to this day. Because like, the more you do some, or the bigger your goals, the more risks you have to take. So, the biggest thing I would say is like I remind myself like the things that I've overcome in my life in the past. Like it's been times in life where, what I'm saying, I've been rock bottom financially after being up. You know what I'm saying? It's times where, and again, like these times where they are different because I didn't have children. You know what I mean? I didn't have a wife at the time, but I experienced it. You know what I'm saying? And I experienced myself overcome all of those challenges. So the flip side of like not having a wife and also having children is I know also as well, like I'm fortunate enough to have a wife who also has a good career, and that, if everything fall through, like we just gonna be scraping, you know what I'm saying, until, I get that bounce back from wherever I'm at or whatever. And I'm fortunate enough to have a woman in my life um that really honestly, fellas, like allows me to take these risks in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's important.
that's not something I take lightly, because it's like, you know, you it's way different when you got a job that, not saying that you just know you getting paid every single week. You got to work for it still, but like it's a
It's
lot
coming.
more security
Yeah.
attached to
Hmm.
that. You know what I'm saying? Every single month to this day, I'm grinding to make sure we got the, clients on the board, and then I got my other coaches that work under me. I'm trying to make sure that they got clients, and I'm trying to make sure that we can go to the next step. So it's a big, it's a challenge for sure. But I have to date on a daily remind myself like, you know, I've bounced back from, not having anything, or being in a certain place success wise, and then hitting rock bottom and then getting back to, I've done that. I want to say like at least twice in my life so far. You know what I'm saying? So I'm fortunate to, it's one of those situations when it's happened, you're like, oh no, you know what I mean? But like, I'm really fortunate to be able to look back and say like, man, I don't believe, it ain't nothing I can't bounce back from. So
Yeah.
like those experiences have helped me. And if anybody else has had those experiences, you got to kind of remind yourself what you've bounced back from, or what you've overcome. But then also too, man, is like, when you are kind of halfway doing something, and it's easier said than done, man. Like it really is. But when you like halfway, I'm not gonna say halfway doing something, but when you give something some part of your attention, you don't really get everything out of it that you could probably that you don't get all the potential out of it that you could,
Yeah.
and when I made those leaps, of faith, man, it was like things just started connecting because of the daily activity and the daily purpose that I had behind what I was doing. So like when you get in the groove and like I gotta do this on my to do and blah 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 blah, and you just adding everything together and you connecting it, you start to see those laws of attraction work. You start to see, that everything start to catch momentum and things like that. So, if you're doing the right things on a day-to-day basis, you might not see the outcome of what you're looking for immediately, but you know, if you don't got no plans of stopping, then I truly believe that you'll be all right. You know what I mean? Especially if it makes sense, for your lifestyle. Like that's important too. Like you can't say, oh, I want to be, a this and it don't pay you that, or it doesn't have the potential to pay you that because you got responsibilities. But if you could map it out and if you could see it and it makes sense, I truly believe that like when you put your foot into it and you put your attention, because we only get a certain amount of hours in the day, man. So it's like when you spend those long hours and get that quiet time and that attention to detail on whatever it is that you're trying to pursue, you're gonna catch that momentum eventually. And I strongly believe that, man, because I tell people all the time when I was successful in the roofing industry, man, I had never thought in a million years that I would have been doing anything in the roofing industry. It was just I went to school for communications and marketing. And so when I got out of school, I became a marketing director. And then after I was a marketing director, I became marketing direct. I became marketing director at a different company. And then the company that I became a marketing director, it was a roofing company. And so when I learned and how I could be great at that, I learned the product and the service like the back of my hand. And I was like, you know what? Like, I think I could do this a little better than him. You know what I'm saying? And you follow these different paths in life based on like just the commitment that you give to it. You know what I'm saying? So I truly believe that I owe all my success to just the commitment. You know what I mean? That's why I think I'm big on that with my kids. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, yo, if you learn how to be committed to something, you're gonna be straight. You know what I mean? You're gonna be straight.
Yeah.
And once again, financially gotta make sense. But if you committed to something, the timing is God's timing, but you're gonna be straight.
Yeah. Now,
What
you hit it on the head real quick. You hit that on the head because that kind of finishes my thought when I was talking earlier about, that the difference maker between the kid that makes it and the kid that doesn't, right?
Yeah.
One just gives up. One just stops putting the work in. And that, I just seen a kid not have any skill at all in one thing, and then you look away for a couple years, they still at it. They look like a totally different individual. And you're proof of that. Just when you talk about your kids that you look at their videos from when they first started training with you to just a couple months, and they're able to kind of see vast change in their development. So that's spot on, brother. That's spot on.
All sports is life, man. You know what I'm saying? Sports is life, and
That's it.
and that's the biggest thing that I try to hone on, and what we do is just like sports is life. 99.9 of these kids will have to figure out some sort of career for themselves, and if they have the proper mindset, the proper upbringing, the way that they think, once again they'd be all right.
Yeah, you got to translate it.
Yeah,
Yep.
What is that? Nipsey Hussle said you gotta be comfortable with being uncomfortable, man. So like what Raymond said, with people that wanna get into something, man, you can't really, like Mo, you said you didn't bounce back 2 or 3 times. So you ain't scared of falling. You ain't scared. You know like what can happen when you out here, you know, doing something, starting something on your own. You don't got that guaranteed like, oh, no matter what I do out here, that paycheck coming on Friday. It ain't
Right.
like that when you're an entrepreneur. If you
Nope.
ain't generating revenue, if you ain't got clients, if you don't have, people champion your product, then it ain't gonna be no paycheck's gonna be slim. So you gotta be comfortable with like, hey, things a little ugly right now, it's a little slow, but I'm
It
not
keep you creative. It
yeah,
keep you
yeah.
creative.
Innovative, creative,
Yeah.
whatever the word you want to use. But like Lionel, you too, and Bird, everybody got
Mm-hmm.
a side hustle or full time where if you don't work, you don't eat. So,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? When you just break it down like that, I mean, what you gonna do? Now, some people say, "Hey, I'm gonna keep my full time until I get it straight." But once you make that leap, and even if you got a job, you should treat your job that your job that you trying to your entrepreneurial gig, treat it like
Mm-hmm.
that's all you got.
Yeah.
So if you don't work, it ain't nothing coming. So that's what I think that people get scared of, man, because they don't know if they take a L or if they happen to things don't go smooth, which they ain't, it's not gonna ever go smooth all the time. They don't want to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just better
Right.
to be safe. I'm gonna just go ahead and work this job that is not I'm not passionate about it. I hate to go in here every day. I can't wait till I get out of here every day. And that's what I think what you found with yours, you hooping, man. So I don't think you ever gonna wake up and like, damn, I gotta go in this gym again. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where you love to be, man. So like I said, man, if you just figure out that, then like you said, man, you can't really lose, because we had a guy on here before, was Lionel Walk. He's like, you don't lose, man, you just run out of time, man. So you never
Mm-hmm.
lose,
Mm-hmm.
man. So as
Yeah.
long as you ain't run out of time and we all still breathing, when you wake
Yep.
up tomorrow, you got time, man. So
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
you ain't losing, man. You just keep it pushing.
100%.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. But look, man, we appreciate it, Mo. I feel like we all I feel like I'm a specialist, man, but I learned a lot today, man. I feel like I'm a specialist in hooping, man. But dealing with them kids a little different, man. So I like what you putting down with that, man. I think what you got going on, man, is dope, man. And especially you get to work with your son, man, and your daughter. So ain't nothing better than that, man. So I mean, like we said, keep doing what you're doing, man. We appreciate you pulling up on us today, man, and dropping some knowledge on us, man, taking us back down memory lane, man. Because I ain't been in the gym with my sons yet, but I'm gonna get with you when I get ready to go out there, though, man.
Yeah,
So
man. Please do, bro.
yeah,
It's a process, man. And once again, it's great to have good men around, man. So I'm a for what you guys, what I'm saying, for what you guys bring, and what you guys, the topics that you guys are covering, I'm leaning on from afar. I'm leaning on y'all, just like y'all can lean on me, man. So
yeah, man.
it's
Respect.
a brotherhood. We locked in, fellas.
Yes, sir,
Respect.
man. Yeah,
Appreciate
man.
that, bro.
Before we roll, man. I don't know if you know, man, but you're gonna find out now, man. Lionel gonna get you to close us out, man, before we get up out of here, man.
Yeah, man. So real quick, Mo, man, like John said, we appreciate you pulling up on us, man. This is really great. I learned a lot as well. And nah, man, I'm excited for you, man, and all that you have going on. I can see the passion and the intention, and it reminds me of the law of potentiality, right? So y'all look that up as the law of potentiality. I heard you drop the law of attraction too, so I know I can tell you into that manifestations and
Mhm.
and whatnot, but like John said, man, we like to allow our guests to have the last word. And so if you can bless the listeners with the key for the day, something that's inspiring, something that can, push them forward and push them through what you got for
Um, I I said I love Nipsey, man. And the best quote that I always like, I listen to it all the time, is just like, the highest human act is to inspire.
Inspiring.
So I truly, I try to like embody that and live that on a day-to-day basis, and I want us as people is to understand, like, even in times where things may be difficult, it's somebody watching and it's somebody inspired, man. If you putting the right foot forward, and you got great intentions behind what you do, it's somebody out here inspired and it's somebody out here watching. So I encourage those leaders in the world and people that are trying to grow into leaders, and just to keep going, and just keep inspiring, man, because it's a lot of people out here, the youth especially, that are watching us, and looking at us, and wanting to be like us, and they don't always have the best role models out here, so we got to make sure that we're constantly touching them and constantly trying to inspire them, and to be the best versions of themselves, man.
It's
Yes,
beautiful,
sir.
bro. Appreciate that.
Appreciate
Yeah,
Yeah.
that,
man.
bro.
Hey, if if y'all don't know, that's gonna be the first clip of the episode right there. We're gonna start it off. We'll start it off with that one, man. I like that one, man. So, but yeah, man. Like I said, man, we appreciate it, man. Bird, we appreciate the look, man. You threw the oop.
No
And,
doubt,
you know
no
what I'm
doubt.
saying? So that's what we here for, man. We here to, you know what I'm saying, to build, man, politic, man. This is, like I told Lana a long time, we've been doing this for years, man. We just ain't had no cameras on, man. So,
Yeah.
and we've been just chopping it up like this for a long time, man. So it's good to, you know what I'm saying, get with different people, man, that's like-minded. That's not some people that ain't doing what we doing, man, but everybody on the same wavelength, from everybody trying to, you know what I'm saying, trying to, you know, get to the next level. Everybody trying to build, you know. So, like I said, man, it's all good out here, man. So, hey, Mo, we appreciate it. And hey,
Appreciate y'all, man.
we'll do it again, man. We'll do it
We
again
gonna do
next
this off the
time.
air too,
Yes,
fellas.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
do it.
most
Let's do it.
Yeah, man,
definitely.
we
Most
locked in,
definitely.
man. So, hey, y'all boys be easy, man. We catch y'all next time, man. Y'all please be safe.
All
All
right,
right.
take care.
Peace.
All right, man.
All right, peace.
Peace.
Yep.